Welcome, fellow goofballs. We sign on here with the update here for you on the Cam Skattebo. Obviously, that's one of the biggest stories coming out of the Eagles Giants game that just ended here today. The Eagles just absolutely destroying the Giants. Um, Listen, we also was a gruesome injury. Reports now coming out that the Giants have announced that Cam Skattebo is going to have surgery tonight. So that's officially done as far as surgery, which means that, let's be honest, his season is pretty much done here as well for you guys. So it is a dislocated ankle. Again, I'm going to talk about the injury a little bit here without talking about specifics to Scattaboo. I don't want to make it seem like we have any kind of information on him personally. Obviously, I don't have access to his medical files, nor should I, to be very clear as well. But yes, Scattaboo is going in for surgery. They've announced today. Now, dislocated ankles as a whole, most patients return to weight bearing activities within 6 to 8 weeks after surgery. Now, football would not be that. That'd be a full contact sports situation. Full recovery is required for that, which can take 3 to 6 months. It's now the end of October. So, end of January, you're talking until the end of April. So you're talking way past the season being over at that point there. So Scattaboo is definitely not going to be part of this team, unfortunately, for the rest of the season. Obviously severity of injury can vary based on which ones he has. There's two different options there. My understanding of surgery is open reduction, and there's also an internal fixation surgery where they actually put plates and everything into. Hopefully, that's not the scenario for him. Nice thing is he's young, which means he, has a faster recovery time than a lot of us that are watching and seeing what's going on here right now, including myself. But it's really bad news for him, really bad news for the Giants overall. Now, going forward, Tyrone Tracy obviously is going to have to be the feature back to the New York Giants. Obviously, we had a lot of high hopes going into the season with him. Guy had literally, over 1,000 yards last year, total yards with, not even starting the first couple of weeks there at all, basically. So, impressive rookie season. Hasn't done much yet this year per se, but had an injury. Now been sitting behind Scattaboo the last couple of weeks there, but he's had his chance to become a feature back again in the NFL, and we'll see what he does with that. There again, he's impressed us in past. Let's see what he can do. Um, obviously expect Devin Singletary to play a larger role than he has played so far this year. Obviously, a savvy veteran kind of guy that you see him, in some situations. He obviously had a big catch just today against the Eagles. With the ball was slightly underthrown there by Jaxson Dart, and he scooped down and got it, and big catch and a big play in that there. On top of that, you got to wonder if Turbo Miller finally gets a shot. Now, when Tracy got hurt, they went with just Cam Skattebo and Devin Singletary. Now, again, you knew Tracy was coming back in a couple of weeks kind of scenario. This is not that scenario. So you got to wonder that if finally Turbo Miller gets a shot in an actual NFL game. Been on the practice squad all last year, on the practice squad, obviously, so far this year. Looked really good in preseason, which Giant didn't, though. Looked really good in preseason. I think this is a chance that we got to take a shot with Tyrone Tracy as the feature back, but give a chance to go ahead and get Turbo Miller in there, especially on third down, screen plays, things of that nature, because quite frankly, you have nothing to lose at this point. There's nothing to lose. The Giants are going to be missing out on a very big piece now the rest of the season. A guy who was not just a good player for them, but a guy who really was part of starting the change of the culture. The Giants are now 2-3 in the last 5 games, much better than the 0-3 start they had, much better than a record last year. So I don't want to make it seem like they were like on the verge of like pushing for a playoff position, but this was an improved team. And a lot of that was because of Cam Skattebo. So a lot of this pressure now goes on Tracy. A lot of this pressure now goes on Jaxson Dart, who has to also provide some of that leadership and that energy that Skattebo was giving as well. But also, like I said, I think a guy like Turbo Miller can go ahead and take some of that pressure off those guys to a certain degree. What level? I don't know. Like, I'm not going to call for anything crazy. Let's be honest. The kid hasn't been called up now after multiple chances he could have been called up. He didn't make it out of the training camp. So I'm not going to go crazy in what I think he is, but I do think he's a guy who can provide something on third downs, screens, swing passes, wheel routes, things of that nature. I think he's more of a pass catcher than an actual running back. That's what we've seen out of him so far. So, listen, any weapon we can get our hands on right now, we need to take our chance to get that weapon. And here's a kid who's a young, fast, strong running back that showed you something in the preseason. Let's see if it can translate. And if it doesn't, well, then we're going to just have to keep on riding with Tracy and Singletary, basically. That's what it boils down to. Because be frank, very frank with you guys, there's not a lot of great running backs available right now. It's towards the end of the, it's end of the year, but the middle of the year now. You're getting to it's almost Halloween. This is not going to be, Pro Bowl running backs and 1,000-yard running backs sitting there on the free agency going, well, I'm waiting for the Giants just in case. The guys that are out there, the guys like the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, guys that are washed up, guys that are done. I would highly encourage the Giants to go ahead and scour for practice squads, scour for guys that, maybe just haven't gotten a shot yet in this league that maybe can prove they can do something if you give them the chance. And, I mean, there's different guys that you could do that with. A guy like Damian Martinez comes into mind with that, a guy who spent, much of his year with the practice squad there for the Seahawks, but was a guy that was coming in the draft last year, drafted 7th round, played with Miami, played with Oregon State, and looked somewhat decent in college there. So, but again, you're not going to get a great player. To be very frank on that. The biggest thing is going to be trying to get a push to provide some juice here out of Tyrone Tracy and a little bit of more leadership out of Jaxson Dart, who's done a great job. I'm not dissing him when I say that. But Skattebo definitely took some of that pressure off for him. He was part of the face of it. It was Dart and Skattebo. And now it's just Dart. So he's going to have to unfortunately take some of that extra on there. And, the big thing is, though, hopefully Skattebo is good for next year. No issues, no lingering issues with it overall, because let's be very frank, with or without Skattebo, the season's over. We're 2-5. There's no shot for playoffs. There's no shot for any kind of, push for a playoff spot or anything like that. The season's over. So hopefully he's good to go next year. Hopefully he's working for a whole new coaching staff next year. I doubt it, but I'm still going to give that little shout out, a little hope out there for it. So, but we'll keep an eye. Any other information we get as far as the Giants, we'll let you guys know. I know some people might be thinking, okay, well, the trade deadline hasn't happened. Did the Giants trade for anybody? I don't think so, and I hope not. To be very frank here, we can trade for a Pro Bowl running back and probably still not make the playoffs right now. So there's no point in giving up a draft pick when your running back's coming up next year. That's just where I'm at. I don't want to give up any picks for a guy who's being a rental player that isn't going to make a big difference in what happens at the end of the season. So, but again, we'll let you know anything else we hear. We'll let you know of any kind of rumors. We'll let you know additional news on the injury recovery for Cam Skattebo. We wish him the best for that. Wish him as least painful a process as possible for that. Hope he keeps his chin up, comes back, and be the same kind of player next year there. So, appreciate you guys for watching. We'll let you know any of the updates as they come in. And as always, Giants fans, go G-Men!
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army. and for taking the time out to support the show.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please,